What's going on, y'all? Thank you so much for checking me out, as always. I watched this Guardians 3 on Friday, I believe. It's Monday now, so I had to sit on it for a few days before getting into any, of my hot take stuff. I had to let it, I had to let it manifest for a little bit in my mind. And, I'm going to give my thoughts at first. No spoilers or nothing at first. These next few minutes, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the movie and stuff on the film. And then I'll kind of just start jumping into the spoilers if you want to get out of here before I do that. But, before I go any further, this film was phenomenal. Yes, there might be a lot of reasons that, you could say I'm biased in this film, and, because things like the soundtrack or a lot of Beastie Boys or the fact that I love Guardians and I love, Rocket Raccoon, and the movie was really primarily about him and his origin story. All that being said, please go check this thing out if you haven't already. It is easily, after I sat through that movie, it is easily one of my favorite MCU movies, and I think it was the best film since Endgame in 2019. Now, that might be a little arguable. There are some pretty darn good movies that have come out since then, or MCU movies, but this one for me is the best since Endgame because of all of its emotion and great themes and awesome messaging and storytelling. Um, there's just so much about this film I could go on all day about. But yes, please, if you just need an answer, I know a lot of people have been gushing over this movie and tell you to go see it. But if you happen to stumble upon this little video on this small channel, please go watch the movie. You'll like it, even if you're not a big MCU person or whatever. However much you are into the fandom, I think everyone should go check this thing out. That being said, I guess I kind of want to get into some of the details of why I did like it so much. Um, you know, I keep calling it a James Gunn masterclass because this guy, it's his last Marvel project. It's the end of the Guardians trilogy, and he was just going all out, pushing the boundaries. This film was very dark. It had a lot of dark imagery, and I mean, even there was a lot of fair amount of language, and the MCU's first f bomb, which is very relevant for a Disney film. The MCU's first f bomb, was uttered, and it was kind of a little like, hey, wait, did that just happen moment? Kind of a cool a push of the boundary there. I know a lot of parents are going to be unhappy when they take their kids to this movie because there was a lot of blood, there was a lot of graphic imagery, a lot of death. They did not hold back in this film, and I love it because with a Guardians movie, you're going to get a lot of comedy and cheesiness, and this film had some cheesiness, of course, but you're going to get that out of a Guardians film. But then when you had just so much of these serious moments and aspects to it that were drizzled in there too, it made for a really awesome project that I was such a fan of. With a Guardians movie, you're going to be expecting a cool soundtrack. That's their bread and butter. They're going to kill it there, and I think they did for the third time in a row. The music selection was awesome, and yes, I'm biased, and I'm going to give the music selection an excellent score because I love my Beastie Boys, and there was plenty of that in this movie. Uh, Speaking of Beastie Boys, the hallway scene with, the big fight scene with, No Sleep Till Brooklyn in the background, that is just one of the best shots I have seen out of a MCU movie. It looked all like it was one take, and, of course, it's CGI'd out the booty, but it was just still, it was great cinematography, and I love that scene so much. Maybe one of my favorites ever just in a film I've watched. And yes, again, it's aided by my Beastie Boys bumping in the background, but whatever, I'm biased. Um, like I said, I'm such a huge Rocket fan. Seeing him get this origin story and it be the main plot device was really awesome to see because it just gave his character that was always one that was, filled with a lot of pain and suffering. It gave you a lot of closure and just a peek into how he became who he was, because we didn't know a lot about Rocket leading up to this point other than he's an angry raccoon experimentation. So it was really cool to see how he became like that and who did that to him. And it was great to see his friends that he made, the other animal experimentations that the high evolutionary made. And they're all CGI little animals, but it was just really cool. I'll get to it in a minute, but the CGI animals, but they were cool, and I think they did a good job fleshing them all out. Nothing felt cheesy with them, and it was cool seeing. I mean, these scenes with just with these weird, freaky looking animals, and there was a lot of depth there. There was a lot of storytelling, and you formed a bond with them and Rocket, and their relationship was very, very understanding, and you could relate to that. Being accepted and finding friends that are like you, and stuff like that. It was, you kind of assumed that they would be getting clapped eventually. We all knew that was coming, and when that did happen, just seeing Rocket's reaction was, I think it was great. It was very emotional. I myself didn't cry during this movie, but I know a lot of people probably did, and there were even moments where I was like, dang, I could see myself tearing up to this. I was very engaged in the movie. I almost did some scenes. That's how good I thought a lot of the writing and acting was. But yeah, when Rocket saw his friends die right in front of him, the shriek and yell he let out was just really darn good. There was just so much emotion there. You could feel that pain. I think Bradley Cooper did an exceptional job with Rocket, like he always has. But during that scene specifically, he killed it, knocked it out the park. And just I think the acting as a whole by everyone in this film was very good. There's just so much chemistry between the Guardians, and I think they've never looked better interacting together and making it believe like, hey, this is a crew that's a team of superheroes together traveling the galaxy and working together, and there's bonding, and they really care about each other, and there's fights and stuff, but at the end of the day they want to see each other improve and be the best they can be. And just all the relationships getting screen time and interactions, they were all just fleshed out and really good with Mantis and Drax and Nebula especially. And I really like how with Gamora they never copped out real bad. There wasn't any like certain moment where she was just like, oh yeah, I'm in love with Peter again, we're gonna try to make this work out again. And I'm glad they never just went back to she was all dormant and not really accepting of this crew. I'm glad that they didn't just make her like, oh yeah, I'm one of the guys again. By the end of the movie, she warmed up to the idea of all of them, but there was never a straight up like, hey, we're right back to where old Gamora was as far as relationship with everybody. And I'm glad they went that route with the film. As far as anything else that really stood out to me, there's so much. Like I said, this is just, I've not felt this good after stepping out of a movie theater in a while, probably since an Avengers, Endgame or Infinity War. Well, I didn't feel good stepping out in Infinity War. Nobody did, but this was a film that was really needed because we've been in this very dark time for superhero movies, especially the MCU, where things are getting overdone and oversaturated, and that can be a whole separate video and stuff, but we all know where the status of the MCU is, and I'm glad that this film really knocked it out the park, because I was sitting there near the end of the film and I was like, you know what, man, these Marvel hater bros, they're gonna have to take a L on this one, because this thing is awesome. I love this movie, and I think it's gonna have great feedback and reviews and stuff, and it seems like for the most part it is. There are some people that it just didn't really hit home for, and I can understand some of the gripes that they bring up, but I do think overall this was a success. The box office will reflect that, and Marvel definitely needed a win here after some of the past few controversial projects. Not all those perceptions I agree with. I have a lot of good things to say about the past few Marvel movies, except for Thor. We don't talk about that. Unless it's in a negative tone and sense. Love and Thunder was awful, but that could be another video too. Like I said, I enjoyed this movie so much that I had to do something completely different, something I've never done before, and make a movie review about it. I've never done this. I'm going all off the top. I don't got no script or nothing. I'm doing this off the pure fact that this dang movie was so dang good that I was like, I need to get on a mic and I need to start just getting my ideas out of how much I like this. I'm definitely gonna need to rewatch soon. I need a second viewing. Maybe we'll do a third. I don't know, but we'll see. My final score for this film was a very, very stout 9.3 out of 10. And, I've listed a lot of the good reasons why I really loved it, and only shortcomings that I 100% definitely agree with. Like, it's almost like you can't really dispute it. Adam Warlock was absolutely butchered throughout this film. I do not like the direction they went with him, where he was purely comic relief outside of the first 10 or so minutes of the film, when he was, kind of going pretty hard and busting everybody up. But he just wasn't. He didn't get enough time, and I know it's hard to fit all those characters in, but he just came in here and there to get some cheap laughs, and I would have liked them to take him a little bit more serious throughout the showing, but I guess it does kind of set up like, hey, he was prematurely let out of his, chamber, and he's still young and immature, and they're kind of trying to reflect that with the goofy moments he had. Maybe in further projects he'll start, being kind of a badass and stuff, and showing how powerful he can be. I definitely hope they go that direction, but yeah, definitely didn't like their handling of Adam in this one. But other than you could nitpick the cheesiness and stuff at times. It keeps that score for me a little higher, but I say a good 9.2 out of 10 for this. It's very fair. It reflects my thoughts on it. I think what has to be maybe my favorite message or theme from this movie was, all life is precious, no matter the being's intelligence levels or how sentient it is and stuff. I just really like, because I'm a huge lover of nature and a lot of animals, and I think all life is precious and stuff. Maybe that's another reason this film really hit home for me, was, when Rocket was going back to the cages and saw his little, like, raccoon bros, that, it reminded him of how that's where I started. And seeing other animals there, he looked around. I thought maybe they weren't gonna try to save him or nothing, and then he was just gonna leave or whatever, maybe got distracted. But no, they planned on saving all of them, and I love that so much, because they were like, hey, I thought we were just doing the higher intelligent beings. They're like, nope, we're getting everybody. And that was just a really cool way to how I think a lot of people should see life and organisms, where everyone's important, and everyone has meaning and value, and you can't just look down upon things because they're not as intelligent. It's something that I really loved. I love that direction they went. And gotta talk about our villain real quick. Really loved the High Evolutionary. I loved the quote he had kind of near the end when they were basically doing an overthrow of command. He said, "There is no God. That's why I had to step in." Just a really cool, powerful line, and I mean the performance by Chukwudi Iwuji was just very good throughout this film, and I think Marvel's done a pretty good job with their villain issue lately. I definitely like how they went with the direction on him in this one, and the performance was really great. A lot of good stuff there, which really raised the score of this film and the perception of it for me. I don't know if, as far as the Guardians trilogy, I think it was a perfect conclusion. The Guardians trilogy was great. I'm putting it over Volume 2. Volume 2, I'm going to need to do a rewatch of 1 and 2, but I feel like 2, other than, some very emotional parts with Yondu at the end, I think there was a little bit more to be done there. But I'm going to rewatch that. My opinion of the movie has changed a lot, because I loved it when I watched it. I still like it a lot, of course, but the criticisms on it, I definitely understood, and I think I agreed with. And that's why I'm putting the third one over it right now. As far as the first Guardians, I will certainly need a rewatch, because it's been a while. I love that movie to death. I might do that as soon as I'm done on this. As soon as I'm off here, I might go watch the first one to see if I put this Volume 3 over it. And then I'm going to post my answer in the comments, my final conclusion. But that's all I got for y'all. Thank you so much for watching and starting some dialogue in the comments if you want. I'm gonna be back soon with some more content. I don't know what that'll be, but we're gonna see. So y'all have a good one, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.
dream of me. Thanks, ugly guys.
I used to go to school, but bitch, I'm better off at rapping. Yeah, I'm fresh to death, wipe me down just like a napkin.